Building a more agile and adaptive workforce at Samsonite, how a company more than 100 years old uses coaching and communication skills training to drive dramatic growth and change. I'm Michael Terrell, and this is a podcast from Integrity Solutions.
My name is Lou Cimini. I'm the Vice President of Human Resources for Samsonite in North America.
Lou Cimini tells an interesting story about how the luggage, travel bags, and accessories company, Samsonite, turned to coaching to help with challenges that surfaced with the company's dramatic growth and acquisitions. Lou, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us about the transformation at Samsonite.
Michael, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to talking about our experience.
Before we start, can you tell us about the business itself? What and where is Samsonite today?
Samsonite today is quite different than we were even 6 years ago. We have, in addition to our luggage lines, which are headquartered in Mansfield, Massachusetts, we have our outdoor businesses, which incorporate the High Sierra business located outside Chicago and the Gregory business, which is located in Salt Lake City. We have the protective division, which does phone cases, known as SPEC, located in San Mateo, California. And our distribution center is in Jacksonville, Florida. We have about 1.5 million square feet of distribution space down there. And our latest acquisition is eBags, the online distributor of bags and luggage of all kinds, located in Denver, Colorado. Now, while all of those organizations have their own hierarchy and infrastructure, many of our processes now go across those organizations. All back office operations are intermingled, and now we're learning from each other. For the example of e-commerce, all of our businesses have an e-commerce side, and we're integrating, or I should say, learning together with our latest acquisitions of eBags in Denver.
So we want to talk about your coaching and communication skills work. But first, can you set up the business conditions and changes that Samsonite found itself grappling with? Take us through those briefly, would you?
Well, Michael, the changes in our organization that led us to consider coaching really began around 7 or 8 years ago, when we had to streamline our organization as a result of the recession and economic conditions and be more aggressive in the marketplace. That led to some success and organic growth for Samsonite. Actually, it turned out to be a positive situation for us. And it also led us into a situation where we began expanding by acquiring other companies on the periphery of our product line. What ultimately happened, however, is our management group, lost touch a little bit with our workforce. Expansion of roles, responsibilities. Our management lost line of sight in some cases. It was easy to see this intuitively. We were making leaders responsible for broader organizations. In some cases, they did not have experience in. We combined organization, merged some roles together, merged some teams together. And so if the individual who was a leader didn't grow up in that organization or have knowledge of that function, I knew they would be stressed in leading it. So if you don't know the answer to the questions, you have to make sure you're asking the right questions. And you have to engage your employees to make sure you're getting the accurate and most pertinent information if you want to be an effective leader. So it was an academic exercise first, but I also saw the strain anecdotally as I spoke to leaders or they came to me with issues or questions. And I felt the need to look for assistance and helping our managers and our leaders in general gain more from their conversations, gain more effectiveness and more traction working with their employees when they had those opportunities. In addition, I had new management coming in from the acquired companies who were looking to us to create a culture. They wanted to follow what Samsonite had done during and in our success. And I thought this would be a great way to bind the leadership of the various companies together under a single vocabulary, a single concept of leadership.
Lou, the need for an agile, nimble, and fast workforce was also quite high. How were you looking to empower people there?
In our world of consumer products, we are in a very much fast-paced reactionary mode to make sure that we're aligned with the needs of the marketplace, both our customers and the consumers. We are always reaching out to the world around us to understand what the next trend is, the next need of the customers or consumer would be. and we have to change and move quickly. So we need an organization that is both agile and forward-looking. And that brings me to the conclusion that when my leaders are working with their team, we have to get the maximum output from those interactions and empower our people to be more professional, act as owners of the organization, act as owners of the product line or their function, so that we can make the changes swiftly and as a team. As we expanded, the influx of new employees who had not worked in our environment and had not worked in our world, as well as employees who came in through the acquisition, uh, if they relied on a world of command and control and their boss telling them what to do on a daily or weekly basis, that wasn't going to work in our fast-paced environment as we're expanding and growing our organization. We needed to make sure our exchanges with our employees were comprehensive and our employees were empowered to ask questions, to seek help. And our goal was that our employees did not delegate their problems to their boss, but instead brought solutions to their boss.
Lou, can you speak to coaching specifically and how you found it to be key for addressing the challenges at Samsonite?
Michael, in my opinion, the power behind coaching is that it puts the leader in a position to give the full story, the comprehensive business needs in front of the employee. They arrive at a common path, an agreed upon output, and in some cases, some or most of the tactics to get there. But then the employee has what they need to go out and achieve those goals, create the output that the organization needs. And the leader doesn't have to have a line of sight to see everything that's going on. In fact, having a line of sight these days is almost impossible because we have leaders with employees all over the country working in different time zones in a myriad of functions. So to make sure that these conversations are had in a comprehensive, positive way, the employees have the tools and the motivation to create the output that's needed. And if there is an obstacle, they feel empowered to resolve it, create teams to solve it, or go back to their boss with potential solutions.
Okay, you did the coaching program for 2 or so years, and then what?
After 2 years of the coaching program, we created a group called the Coach Council. That group was, frankly, our best students, our largest group of supporters and proponents of the program. And we did a diagnostic on what we were doing. We made some tweaks, perhaps, in the coaching program itself, but they identified as the biggest need was a similar type program for the senior professionals in the organization. The individuals who may have one person or two people reporting to them, but for the most part, they are the senior professionals who, also known these days as knowledge workers, who we rely on to get things done in the organization. In some cases using influence, some cases using borrowed authority, but they were the people who got things done. And the goal of this new program that we called Communication and Influence was that to give these individuals a tool to solve normal everyday problems, perhaps on their team, but generally between their function and other functions, where they must get agreement, cooperation, joint solutions with people who work for other people. That sometimes in an organization is very difficult. In a siloed organization, it's almost impossible. While I would not describe Samsonite as a siloed organization, we are spread out. So it is sometimes difficult to get teams together, multifunctional teams together to work without using senior level people to lead those teams. And day to day, we just can't accomplish that with our span of control. So we empower these people to find the people who support them, can be resources to them, and help them find the common solutions. In some cases, we rely on them to actually identify the common solutions to these problems. And we've given them the skills to talk to each other, to relate to each other, and identify their styles, their needs, and then we've given them the tools to problem solve and overcome obstacles.
Lou, let's talk about the results you've seen with these multi-year programs.
Well, we have qualitative and quantitative results of the programs. The energy generated from the programs is obvious from the very beginning. And when we ask at the end of each program who they would recommend that we invite to the next level or the next scheduled program, the endorsements, frankly, are too great for us to meet just for one program. So we have a long waiting list. So that's very positive. When you have an internal program and there's a waiting list of people who want to sign up, that tells you you're doing something well. The other piece is business-wise, I have to say. We've had record results for the last 7 years. Every year we set a new record for revenue and sales. So our business, in spite of the challenges of the marketplace, in spite of the challenges of expanding and the challenges of integration and acquisition, have done quite well. The most gratifying result, though, for me, is we do have engagement surveys. We've been surveying our workforce for the last 7 years in an engagement survey type. And there are various sections, as they always have. And the section of management, where our employees evaluate our management team, was at one time our weakest area. Our last engagement survey, it is now our strongest area. And the comments we have from our employees, where they're allowed to comment, they talk about things like shared purpose, which is one of the exercises that we go through with the leadership team, establishing a shared purpose with their employees about what the mission is of their function, what the goals are of their organization. And when we hear our employees who haven't been through the program, they've just been, if you will, victims of the training from their leaders, repeat back that their understanding and their endorsement of the shared purpose, that's quite gratifying.
We're so grateful for your time exploring the Samsonite story. And before you go, Lou, can you leave us with a final thought?
You have to understand that coaching is a different concept than directing. Directing is perfect in a world where all your employees are doing the same thing and you can see them all. Coaching takes you to the next level, actually takes you more than the next level, where you create an environment where your employees understand and accept the mission and are capable of carrying it out. It is it works in almost all environments. All of us, if you think about it, in our lives probably have had someone in your life who's affected you greater than you would have expected. And that person, if you think about it, was probably coaching you in some fashion. It could have been a teacher, an athletic coach, a coach of extracurricular activities, or something else. The power of coaching can't be underestimated. And if you can spread it in your organization, the ROI is extraordinary.
Thoughts and results from comprehensive coaching and communication skills programs in a highly dynamic environment at Samsonite. A conversation with Lou Cimini, Vice President of Human Resources at Samsonite North America. You've been listening to a podcast from Integrity Solutions. I'm Michael Terrell.